Today we're going to be doing the Andy Warhol Pop Art inspired Photoshop project. So the first thing you should have done is already opened Photoshop. Then what you need to do is go to File, Open, and navigate to the photo that you're going to be using. I'm going to use this kid from Stranger Things. Now remember, Control-0 will make it full screen. The first thing we need to do to this image is to turn it black and white. And then the way I want you to do it for this assignment is to go up to Image, Adjustments, and make it black and white. You can adjust the sliders to brighten it up or darken it up however you wish, and then click OK. The next thing we need to do is we need to make some of the facial areas a bit blown out, a little bit brighter. So we're going to go up here to Image, Adjustments, Levels. And if you take the far right slider and bring it in, you're going to brighten it up. Now you don't want to come in too far where you start to lose detail on the face. So we still want to be able to kind of see the definition of the nose, and about there works. And then on the left, we're going to bring it in a little bit just to give a little more contrast. And then the middle slider you can adjust to either overall brighten or darken the image. There is no perfect solution. It's whatever looks good to you. So I'm going to click there and click OK. Now for the pop art photo, each of the different sections that are going to be colorized need to be on their own layer. So at the bottom of the layers palette, there's that little post-it note looking thing. That's the new layer icon. You're going to click on that. The first layer we're going to do is going to be the background. So double click where it says Layer 1 and type in the word background. Now we're going to use a brush. So if you go over to the Tools palette, the brush, click on the brush tool, and then up here under Edit, there's the circle, and you're going to use the little drop down and change the hardness to 100%. We want a hard edge brush, not a fuzzy brush. And then down here in the color picker, double click, and we want something in that medium gray range, and click OK. So now with your brush, remember to make it larger or smaller. The shortcut on the keyboard is next to the P. Either the bracket right next to the P makes it smaller, or the second bracket makes it larger. So what I'm going to have you do is color in your background. Now if you have a little overlap, we can clean that up later. So right now, all I'm doing is coloring in the background. And I'm going to pause it to finish because you don't have to watch me coloring in all of the background. So now all my background is colored in. If I turn off my original photo, I can see where I've painted. Now I didn't do a great job. I came a little too close on his face here. So what I can do is on my background layer, I can use my eraser tool and kind of go in and clean up any of that area that I might have over painted. Well, maybe I just painted over his hair too much. So by going in and kind of modifying that layer to take away anything that you might have over painted. Okay. So that's our background. Our next layer, actually before we move on to our next layer, you want to make sure that you change the layer blend mode to multiply. That way we can see the image through our paint. Now we're going to make a new layer. We're going to call it Shirt. Right. Again, with our same brush, make sure the hardness is 100%. Make sure the color is that same medium gray. You shouldn't change it. We're going to paint in his shirt. So I've painted over his shirt, and I'm going to change the layer blend mode to multiply. Now you can see I didn't do a great job. I went over the edges here where it's dark. It's because you have the two layers of the gray from the background and the shirt overlapping. I also came in around his neck here as well. So again, clean it up. Eraser tool, make sure you're on the right layer. And I'm going to go in and just erase over it. It doesn't have to be perfect because remember Warhol's art was screen printed, and so that wouldn't have precise, perfect lines. but we want it a little bit cleaner than this. So I'm just going to clean that up a bit. Get it off of his neck there. So I've cleaned up both my shirt and my background layer. And I can always turn off my original image to see just what I've painted. Now I want to make a new layer. Call it skin. Anywhere you see skin, ears, face, neck, shoulders, hands, anywhere on your image that you have skin, you're going to paint over it. And again, we're painting it solid gray, but then when we're done, we will make sure that we change the layer blend mode to multiply so that we can see the image through it. So I'm going to get to right here and pause it so you guys can continue your work. When you paint the skin, paint over everything. Paint over eyes, glasses, lips, all of that, because as we colorize those, we'll put those on their own layers and they'll be on top of the skin layer. So again, make sure you change the layer blend mode to multiply. That way we can see through it. And check to make sure I got all my, see how I missed some down here on my skin layer? So I'm going to go back in with a smaller brush. Remember the key next to the P makes my brush smaller, and I'm just going to make sure that I fill in those gaps. We don't want any holes in our color. Okay, so color that in and color that in. Great. So each defining characteristic you're going to want to have on their own layer. So the next thing I'm going to do is his hair, then maybe his lips, his eyes. If you have any defining features on your image like glasses or a necklace, anything that you want to have stand out on its own color layer, you're going to have to make a new layer and color it in gray. So do that now. Make a new layer for each part that you're going to want to colorize. So ultimately, I wound up with a layer for his eyes, a layer for his lips, a layer for his hair, for his skin, for his shirt, for his background. And you always want to double check to make sure you filled in all of your image in gray. Now you can see the dark gray is where things are going to overlap slightly, and I'm okay with that. So this is the bulk of the work. Now what we're going to do is go in for each layer and colorize it. So we're going to start with the background layer. If you go up here to Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation. This window pops up. You have to make sure you click on the Colorize button. And then you can adjust the hue and the saturation. So remember, pop art has like really vibrant colors. So make sure you're choosing something really bright, not dull and muted or pastel. Go into your shirt layer, Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation, and again, click Colorize. So each layer you are going to be colorizing to whatever you like. Click OK. So go into each layer and go up to Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation, and colorize them. So once you've colorized each of the layers, you got to kind of determine if maybe the overlap here of the two colors isn't really what you were looking for. So figure out which layer to erase it from. So like for me, I think that is on the hair layer. So I'm going to go back onto the hair layer with the eraser tool and erase some of that blue away. And I can live with some of those little wispy ends of hair not being purple, because I don't like how much of this blue I have going on here. So again, it's personal preference. You kind of figure out what's going to look best for your image. For me, I'm not a big fan of all of this blue bleed over, so I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm happy with that. The next part is pretty tricky, and you're going to have either a way to write down some numbers or use your phone. So right now we have a single image, but with Warhol's pop art images, he would have a series of 4 or 6 or 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new image. But first we have to figure out how big this one is. So if you go up to Image, Image Size, and then this window pops up. You want to change it from inches to pixels. So here are the two numbers we need, our width and our height. So either write that down or take a picture with your phone. Once you have that width and the height written down, yours is going to be different because everybody's picture is a different size. Just click Cancel. So now we need a new document. File, New. And when the new window pops up, you're going to, the width, you need to double whatever your width was. So my width was 343, but I need twice that. So that's going to be 686. And my height was 381, but I need twice that. So I'm just doing the math in my head. If you can't do the math in your head, then get out your calculator and do it on your phone. So double 381 for me is going to be 762. Click OK. So again, let me explain how I did that. On my original image, I went up to Image, Image Size. I changed it from inches to pixels, and I found my width and my height. Clicked Cancel. Then I made a new document where I doubled my width and my height from my first image and clicked OK, which gave me this. So see, I have two different documents open. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to merge all these layers together. So I click up on my first layer, hold down Shift, click on my last layer, let go of Shift, and then right click on the layers. Here it says Merge Layers. It turns it into one layer. So now using Control A to select all, Control C to copy it, I'm going to come over here to my new document and do Control V to paste it. Using my Move tool, I'm going to drag it to the upper left side. And if I did my measurements correctly, you'll see how there are 4 different quadrants defined by pink squares. So that's my first of my 4 pop art images I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to my original photo. I need all my layers back so I can recolor them. So if I go up here to Edit, Step Backward, Edit, Step Backward, all of my layers are there. You're going to do the same process. You're going to go into each of your different layers, Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation, click Colorize, and choose completely different color schemes for the second photo. So I've recolorized all of my layers. And again, I need to have my first layer selected, hold down Shift, click on my last layer, let go of Shift, right click in my layers palette, merge my layers, Control A to select all, Control C to copy, go back up here, Control V to paste. And again, using the Move tool, bring it into that top quadrant. You're going to repeat that whole process 2 more times to get your final image. Remember, to get your layers back, you have to go up to Edit, Step Backwards, Edit, Step Backward. So your final product should look like this, 4 different colorized versions of the same photo.